Hey guys, so in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some of the best top 5 tips that can help you master Gekko, as Gekko is one of the strongest initiators and characters in the game currently, in my opinion. And the number one reason for this, which leads us right into our first tip, is, in my opinion, his flash. So if he throws flash, if you didn't know, what makes this so strong is after you pick this up, you have only a 10-second cooldown. So basically what this means is you can throw up to, if you really time it well, like 6 flashes. I don't think 7 is really realistic. Maybe like 4 or 5 flashes is like the max, but generally you could throw like 2 or 3 on an average round, and that's what you should be throwing on average. So how do we use this flash? I'm standing here for a reason, and that's because you guys might have seen this flash before right here. So you guys might have been flashed from here. This is what makes Gekko's flash so strong. His flash can be shot, but if he throws flashes in spots that cannot be shot, it's going to be really difficult for the enemy to avoid getting flashed. So this is what it looks like from the enemy's perspective. That's going to flash everyone here, and unless they're anticipating this, and I can guarantee you in lower ranks they're not going to be anticipating flashes like this, it's going to be perfect for if you combine it with a teammate who's swinging out with it. They hear like 4 people get flashed, they swing, you have like a couple seconds to get kills, and it's really, really strong. In addition, there's my buddy. You saw me throw this flash straight up, right? And the reason we want to do this, or at least throw it relatively straight up, is so that from exactly where we threw it, we can pick it up again, right? So you throw it up, you pick it up again, you can throw it 10 seconds later again in a different spot. So you throw it up like this, you pick it up, and then they're pushing in sight, and you can throw it over here. Right, so you might throw it up, you might throw it back this way, because I can still flash people and people over here, but you can pick it up relatively safe, right, without having to worry too much. Whereas if you throw it like over that way and it lands over there, it's going to be much harder to pick up and reuse. I hope that makes sense, guys. Are you sick and tired of losing game after game after really trying to win in Valorant competitive, either because your teammates are just horrible, your aim is simply not there, or because you're just not sure what to do next in order to improve? Well, check out my Patreon link down in the description below in order to access my high-quality, affordable $5 Valorant courses, which include my Valorant Mentality course, my Valorant Aim Trainer course, and my Valorant Competitive Fundamentals course, where you'll learn everything necessary in order to succeed in Valorant Competitive. Thank you. Is going to revolve around his wingman. So as Gekko, unlike other initiators, it's going to be your job primarily, almost exclusively, to be carrying the spike around, unless maybe you're ulting. So the reason we want to carry spike around is because we have this ability called Wingman, where you can actually, it can plant the spike for you. So although you're an initiator and you don't always want to be like planting the spike, you have this ability that can basically plant the spike for you. So it is really your responsibility, and you need to understand that as this character, that is really your role. So if you're not used to picking up the spike, you are going to want to get used to picking it up. So pick it up. How this works is you can still use the wingman if you hit left click, but if you want to plant, basically directly above where your crosshair is, it will show an outline of the spike. That's how you can gauge where you're going to plant. And then you right click to plant. So it's pretty simple, but one thing I will kind of mention here is make sure you know where the spike should be planted. So in this case, I don't really want to plant back here. I want to plant probably somewhere here so I can plant for main, or somewhere down here so I can plant for up here or over here. Additionally, if you're looking toward A side on this map, because this is a really strong Gekko map, you might plant it right behind this box is pretty common, right behind this side of the box is pretty common, and generally you don't see it planted unless you guys are like planning to play from back site here, like you have like it's like a 2v1 or something and you guys just want to push spawn. Generally you're going to want to plant in these kind of areas, so just keep that in mind. Basically, guys, just remember that you want to learn the default plant spots is what they're called. So you can look up default plant spots for different maps and you can kind of understand them. Also, let's go ahead and go over to C, because there's a crazy plant that you can actually do with Gekko here with his wingman. So if you look right here, this is actually crazy, right? So this is one of the reasons, another one of the reasons why Gekko is so strong. You can plant from right here. Like this is crazy. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys. So wingman's gonna plant spike. You right click from there. Like I can't even see the site, right? I don't even need to be on the site. There is a bit of a risk in doing this, but like you can get this spike down from sitting back here, and this is how you see a lot of people play this, is you can just spam it from here. You have like maybe 1 or 2 people play up a little bit just to kind of make sure that the enemies are not sticking it or something like that. But generally this is like really, really strong way to plant. So learn the defaults, hold the spike, learn the default plant spots, and tell your team when you're gonna plant. One more thing, guys, very quickly, I forgot to mention, after you plant the spike as wingman, you can actually grab wingman again and use him. Obviously you can use him Outside of just planting the spike, you can also use him to stun, and most of you guys already know this. This ability is nothing super impressive. I think it's really good for getting the enemies to shoot, so you can throw it kind of like this, right? And then once they shoot it, you can kind of swing, and it's sort of like a distraction. This ability, it does a stun. It's not going to be like absolutely game-changing, but it's really good to give you an idea of where enemy locations are, and to kind of cause a distraction and create an opening for you or your teammates to take a fight and potentially turn around. The next tip is going to be regarding Gekko's ultimate, which is also incredibly strong. However, there are a few things you really do need to keep in mind when using it. One is that you can detain teammates, so really keep that in mind. The second thing is you can use Gekko's ult twice, so you can use it and then pick up the orb and use it again and just a little bit later in the round, which can be really strong for like a post-plant situation. Another thing is make sure you more than likely want to throw your spike to someone, or you can go and try to plant first, but I would probably just throw the spike to someone since you are going to be ulting, and you know, you can't ult and throw Wingman at the same time, so it's probably gonna be better for someone else to plant. Anyways, moving on to how to actually ult. So you can ult from somewhere like back here, for example, but you want to try to get as close as possible because this actually does matter. So if I ult from here versus, you know, clearing this out a little bit and then ulting from here, I can actually reach much farther into, for example, U-Haul here and clear this out for my team. Whereas if I ult all the way from back here, I'll just go and show you guys the differences, right? So if I ult from here, clearing all this out, clearing the right, clearing here, clearing all of this, and maybe say I come back so that I can pick up my orb again, right? But if I ult from here, clear all this out, right? Everything's, you can go all the way here, even clear out backside a little bit, and then, you know, I jump back. I jump back to the exact same spot so that whenever we finally run up here, you can grab this and reuse it, right? So that's really how you want to be using this. Make sure that you, whenever you're finished using it, you don't just jump all the way into here with your ult for no reason, because then you're not going to be able to grab it. And again, that's part of what makes his ult really strong. It's very okay not to detain someone with Gekko's ult, because what's really strong about Gekko's ult is that, one, it lasts for quite a while. It lasts a bit longer than like a drone or a dog. You can go, so that means you can go farther with it, and it also has more HP. So really, this ult is really strong because, one, it can detain people, but while it can detain people, you don't always have to detain someone for it to get value, because you can get a lot of valuable information and just data about where enemies are and are not. Gekko's Flash, which is this green ability. And so the main thing you need to understand about this ability is that there's a radius, but the radius in my testing doesn't really seem to matter. However, there is something worth noting. Whenever you throw it down, it makes a noise. So like, it's a pretty loud noise, and it actually becomes louder, and after, right as as it's about to disappear, it explodes and does a lot of damage. So if an enemy actually stands in this entire thing from the time that you throw it, it can kill them. It can one-shot them. And this happened to me whenever like he first came out, and it actually really surprised me. I did not expect to die. There's not really any other mollies or abilities that work like this. So most mollies kind of do continuous damage over time. But in the case of this ability, it can be very deadly if an enemy is stuck in a certain situation and you know that they can't get out. So use this ability like you would use any other molly, right? So if the spike's being planted here, you can chuck it through a smoke here. If this is smoked off, it's very easy to just chuck this. Its radius is pretty big for you to not mess it up. And if they stick the spike, they're going to die because, like I said, this one-shots people, and if there's any damage done to them, it's going to kill them even quicker, as long as that last pulse of damage gets off. But this can also be used to kind of check for certain areas. So like, if you know someone might be playing this corner here, you can throw like this, like just like any molly, right? And then, you know, it's perfect. It clears everything. And if they come out, you get the free kill there. If they don't, you know that there's no one there because the molly would have killed them for sure, because this does a lot of damage and it one-shots. Other than that, guys, make sure you're aware of where your teammates are. Obviously, right? Don't throw this down where your teammate is going to run into. Don't throw this down where, you know, you're like, if you're going to throw it here, just be careful. Right, just be mindful of this. Your team might burn out, and then they're gonna be like, what the heck? You just did a lot of damage to me. Although this can clear out this area, just be aware of this radius. It's quite big, right? Let's just see it one more time. Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward. Probably one of the simplest abilities. Simple to understand, but hard to master. Let's go ahead and go to the fifth and final tip. So guys, for our fifth and final tip for Gekko, this is one that's not entirely specific to Gekko, although it is extremely relevant. This is going to be to coordinate with teammates, which means use comms, and I'm going to give you guys a variety of examples of this and why this is really important. So one is going to be the flash. So I'm on sunset for a reason here. This is, again, another really good spot where you can flash. Again, you want to look straight up, hit M1, and that's what it looks like from the enemy attacker's perspective. Now, you can think, okay, this is a really good flash, right? If I throw it up and I hit some people, I flash them, That's great, right? I flashed some people. Okay, it's good. Honestly, it's good because it tells you how many people are there. If you can kind of hear like, okay, 1, 2, 3 shots from this flash. But what's even better is if you're like, okay, I'm gonna flash here, you know, like duelist, hey, duelist here or here. I'm gonna flash. You guys can peek off this if you want, right? And that's where Gekko players can get really good, because you're like, okay, I'm flashing 3, 2, 1, and then your flash flashes them, and then your duelist swings right here, right after their flash, right? And that's just one example of how Gekko can be really strong in this sort of situation. So generally, you want to call your flashes. You also want to call when you're going to be using your ult and where. That's probably the second most important thing you want to be calling. So like, okay, I'm going to go all the way up elbow and then ult. Whereas if you say nothing, or if you just say I'm going to ult, it's very vague, and they don't know where you're going to ult, and they don't know, if you say nothing, they don't even know you're going to ult, right? So whenever you want to ult, again, like I said in the previous tip, you want to get up a little bit closer. So from like right here is pretty good. If you have a teammate right here holding you, you can ult from here. You tell them I'm ulting in, guys. You clear all of sight. No one here, no one here. You can just kind of come here, put your ult on the site, and you know that the site's clear, and then you can get the spike down if you haven't already. But again, guys, the main point here is to make sure that you are coordinating your abilities, so specifically the flash and your ult. Another thing is coordinate your plants. A lot of Gekko players that I've seen, they have the spike, which is what they should do, but they kind of just like throw the spike in like literally before anyone's even entered the site, like before the duelists have even stepped foot in the site. Like we're all standing back here, and they just try to plant the spike. So try to be clear about, I'm planting now, I'm planting the spike, right? You don't have to be like crazy specific, like where you're planting it. Like obviously anywhere like right here is pretty solid to get it down, but just make sure that the timing of when you plant is there. So like, okay, I'm planting now, guys. Like, so, you know, again, coordination with your team. So these are the main things. Other than that, you don't have to, like, you can obviously call your wingman. You don't really need to call your molly that much. You can if you're doing it on the spike, but mainly just call your flash and when you're gonna ult and where, right? And when you're gonna plant. So those are the main things for the 5th tip. If you guys enjoyed this video, if this was helpful for you to learn Gekko, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Peace.